your master, the Yashaiyah. They scorned him. They laughed at him. They did everything they can do to make him feel grief because of this word. So we going through the same thing.
So now I'm angry. Angry that they don't listen, angry that they kill each other, and angry even so that they use this white guy as an excuse. He is doing his job. We are supposed to be punished by him. And even he goes overboard, and the Lord mentions that also. So now I'm angry looking at my people every day, what they do. I get angry. Go ahead.
I am weary with holding in.
I'm weary with holding in, meaning Jeremiah wants to bust up and break something. I'm weary holding this back. I want to tell them how I feel. I want to grab them and choke them, but I can't do that. Go ahead.
I will pour it out upon the children abroad.
I will pour it out upon the children abroad. How are we pouring out abroad? We speak in the streets. In the streets, it goes online and it reaches out, right? So drop that and give me 1 Corinthians 10 and 6. If it's not first, it's second. So now Paul addressed this weariness and it's anger that's pent up that wants to come out. There's only a certain way you're allowed to do that. Let me see 1 Corinthians 10 and 6. 2 Corinthians 10 and 6. So now Paul addresses this very thing of that rage that's pent up. There's a certain way a man or righteous man of God has to get that anger out.
I think that's it.
That's not it?
Having readiness to revenge.
Con, that's it. 2 Corinthians 10 and 6. Paul speaking on that issue.
And having in readiness,
being prepared
to revenge all disobedience.
To be ready to revenge all disobedience. Go ahead.
When your obedience is fulfilled.
When your obedience is fulfilled. So if you want to take it in your own hands and go take revenge on people, guess what? You're going to get judged by the Most High because you're not even following him. That's right. So he said when your obedience is ready, then you can do it. So you can go out and shoot all these white people you want, but you're still going to get punished because you didn't do it under his order. You did it on your own. You made your own godly decision, which is wrong. So having an all readiness, when your obedience comes in, then that revenge can come. Then the Most High says, strike them down. Then no cop is going to touch you. And no bullet is going to hurt you. He's going to give the order, take them down, and that's when you take them down. When your obedience is ready, when you follow the law, statutes, and commandments, only then do you take revenge. Until then, you remain patient. And you keep that anger in there. That anger is needed, because if you lose that anger, you're going to go back to sleep. And you're going to go back to being a slave again. And the worst, because when you go back to sleep the second time, there's hell coming. So here's the other problem, right? Everybody claims to be woke, correct? You can be woke all you want, but what's the point of being woke if you're still in the bed? Oh, I'm woke, but you laying there. Your ass is about to go back to sleep when you hit the doze button. It's useless, right? So now hit me with Ecclesiasticus chapter 39 and verse 24. So now how do they address this, right? So there's vengeance coming. Ecclesiasticus 39 and 24. So who understands his word, and how do we understand it? Let me know when you got it.
24?
Yes, Con.
The book of Ecclesiasticus, chapter 39, verse 24.
Go ahead.
As his ways are plain unto the holy.
Notice, as his ways are plain unto the holy. What's the saying they say about God's ways? Mysterious, right? Read that again.
As his ways are plain unto the holy.
His ways are plain to the holy. Now, when we think of holy, we think of magic and mysticism. It means set apart. Exactly. So we have a beard on. We dress different. We look and speak different. So that makes us holy, set apart. It's not magical. Go ahead.
So are they stumbling blocks unto the wicked.
So what we learned, what you heard, is a stumbling block unto wicked people. It's a reproach. Their ear is uncircumcised. They don't want to hear it. It's a stumbling block. They trip up trying to deal with this word. Go ahead.
For the good are good things created from the beginning.
So for the good are good things created. Go ahead.
So evil things for sinners.
So evil things are for sinners. Go ahead.
The principal things for the whole use of man's life.
Right.
Or water.
Water. We need water.
Fire.
Fire.
Iron.
Iron.
And salt.
And salt. Basics. Go ahead.
Flour of wheat.
Right.
Honey. Milk.
Right.
And the blood of the grape.
Right.
And oil and clothing.
Right. Why did he mention? Those are the basics we need to live on. Go ahead.
All these things are for good to the godly.
All these things are good to the godly. That's why you serve the Lord with contentment. Right? Contentment means you're okay with what you have. It doesn't mean you can't move on, but you have to be content. These are the basic things for you. Go ahead.
So to the sinners,
but to the sinners,
they are turned into evil.
How does wood, water, fire, honey, flour turn to evil? They sell it. They make money off of it. They make you struggle and kill each other just to get it. So they take the basic needs and make it into something that you have to fight to get. That's how it's turned wicked. Because in and of itself, those things are not evil. But in a wicked hand, he makes it an instrument. You start to covet things that you actually need when you shouldn't have to. Go ahead.
There be spirits that are created for vengeance.
Notice, most people don't notice. There be spirits created for vengeance. So that means there's angels that help and there's angels that hurt. There be spirits created for vengeance. Go ahead.
Which in their fury lay on sore strokes.
Which in their anger they lay on sore strokes. They cause people problems when they're angry. Go ahead.
In the time of destruction.
In the time of destruction, which is to come. Go ahead.
On they pour out their force.
They pour out their force during the time of destruction. Those angels are allowed to come down and cause havoc. Go ahead.
And appease the wrath of him that made them.
Notice who made the angels? God did, right? The Most High. And what did they do? They were made how?
Appease the wrath of him that made them.
So their whole purpose for destruction is to appease the one that created him. He wants them dead. Go ahead.
Fire and hail and famine
right.
and death.
Right.
All these were created for vengeance.
So those very things were created for vengeance. Fire, hail, and what else?
Famine.
And famine.
And death.
And death. That's for vengeance. Go ahead.
Teeth of wild beasts.
Notice this. So notice, you see it. I don't know if you notice on social media, Twitter, Instagram, you see all these Europeans or Afrikaners in Africa holding up these trophy animals they kill, right? But notice what's been happening lately. All of them have been getting killed by a wild animal. Read that again.
Teeth of wild beasts.
Teeth of wild beasts.
And scorpions.
And scorpions.
Serpents.
Serpents.
And the sword.
And the sword, which is now the gun. Go ahead.
Punishing the wicked to destruction.
Punishing them to destruction. Go ahead.
They shall rejoice in his commandment.
Those animals rejoice when they make that kill. Go ahead.
And they shall be ready upon earth.
And they're ready to do it. They're waiting for the moment the Most High says, kill. Go ahead.
When need is.
When the need comes. Go ahead.
And when their time is come.
And when their time is come.
They shall not transgress his word.
They will not go back on it. The Most High says kill. Those lions will bite. Those tigers will strike. Apes, any living animal will kill waiting on his word. And they take joy in it because they serve their king. And he said they won't go back on that word. He says kill. You wonder why all of a sudden an animal just jumps out the zoo and just randomly kills. There's no random killing. He said take that one out. And that animal rejoiced in that. And it says they will rejoice and not transgress that commandment. We transgress. The Lord can say, listen, my people are here. All these devils are going to kill you. Go kill them. I don't want to kill them. You just transgress the Lord's word. You just blasphemed against him. Where an animal who you think is dumb goes by instinct. The Lord says it, I'm killing him. Plain and simple. And don't think he can't speak to his own animals. Right? So now go to, jump to verse 40. And skip to verse 5.
Verse 40? Chapter 40.
Yeah, and verse 5. So now we're seeing how this works.
Wrath.
Wrath. Go ahead.
And envy.
And envy.
Trouble.
Right.
And unquietness.
Right.
Fear of death.
Fear of death.
And anger.
And anger.
And strife. And in the time of rest upon his bed, his night's sleep do change his knowledge.
So notice, this is saying all these things, wrath, anger, strife, jealousy, and all these things, right, they trouble us. That's going on in the world. They bother us. And then we go to sleep. And it does change us. Go ahead.
a little or nothing in his rest.
A little or nothing in his rest. Go ahead.
And afterward he is in his sleep, as in a day of keeping watch, troubled in the vision of his heart.
Right, so he's troubled in the vision of his heart. Go ahead.
As if he were escaped out of a battle.
As if he escaped out of battle. That's what you do to go home, right? You rest. You're like, man, you lay down like, man, I just escaped out of this. Go ahead.
When all is safe, he awaketh.
When all is safe, you wake up. Go ahead.
And marveleth that the fear was nothing.
But the fear was nothing. It was in your head. You contemplate on it. And you think about it. That's what devils do. That's what spirits do. They force you to remember and go back and play it over and over. That's why you can't rest sometimes. That's why it's like, man, I keep thinking about that. They trouble you, but that's what rest is for. To space you out of that mindset. Go ahead.
Such things happen unto all flesh.
Such things happens to all flesh, everyone. Cut.
Good.
Unto all flesh, both man and beast. And that is sevenfold.
Even to animals it happens. Go ahead.
And that is sevenfold more upon sinners.
So think about it. Those who don't regard the Lord, who won't read his word, it's 7 times worse when they try to rest. That's how much they got on their head. So even their killing is a way of trying to get out from that. But they just dig a deeper hole. There's no repentance. So they go further down. Go ahead.
Death and bloodshed, strife and sword,
right?
Calamities, famine, tribulation, and the scourge.
So notice this goes on every day on the news. We see it, and we see it in the neighborhoods. Go ahead.
These things are created for the wicked.
It's created for the wicked. It's supposed to happen to them. But when we don't obey the Lord, we don't look any different. We joined ourselves unto them. That's why in Revelation it says, come out of her, my people, so I don't put these plagues upon you. Because when you're joined to them, you look no different. That's the story of the wheat and the tares. Allow them to grow together until the time of the harvest. And I'll separate them. One's going into the, what is it, like the shed? And the other one's going to get burned. But the wheat and the tail looks just alike. You got to separate yourself. That's different than everybody else. Go ahead. Just following what he says will automatically make you different. Go ahead.
And for their sakes came the flood.
And for their sakes came the flood, meaning their mercy was me having to drown them. It's better that I kill you than you keep living, and then I'm going to utterly destroy you. Again, remember, because the Lord says what? Don't fear man, but fear him who can bring you back and kill you the second time. That's right. I'd rather die once, or not at all. Go ahead.
All things that are of the earth shall turn to the earth again.
So that's where you get ashes to ashes, dust to dust. You're going back at some point. Go ahead.
And that which is of the waters doeth return into the sea.
Done. So everything goes back where it belongs. So the same thing, the conversation they had before about people being in Israel that don't belong there, right? The earth goes back to the earth, the sea to the sea. You who invaded will go back to your home because you don't belong there. Those people, they speak Yiddish. They don't speak Hebrew. So you question us about us speaking Hebrew, you don't speak it either. You speak German words with Hebrew letters. Right. That's not Hebrew. You speak German. If you listen to old videotapes, it sounds exactly like German. It sounds like a German person is talking. So they don't speak Hebrew either. But on their money, right, a lot of us people like to joke that, oh, you guys don't speak the old Hebrew. Those letters are made up. But if you go to Israel, on the shekel are those same letters that we speak. The original Paleo Hebrew. Not Yiddish, not German, but not anything else. So you can drop that. Go to Genesis chapter 10. I want to prove something, right? And real quick, I want to go to anti-Semitism, right? Because they keep bringing that up. Oh, if you don't like my shoes, you're anti-Semitic. Oh, if you don't like everything we say or do is anti-Semitic. You got Genesis 10?
Yes, sir.
You can find Shem for me.
These are the generations of the sons of Ham. Noah's
right, so these are generations, go ahead. So notice, right, so we're going to deal with Shem, right? So Shem, somehow is where they got the term Semitic. It doesn't even match. That alone doesn't match. Shem, Semitic is not the same word. Let me know when you got it. Take your time. I'll keep talking. So notice, so they keep talking about anti-Semitism. Anti-Semitism. A Semite,
I got sons of Shem.
all right, according to them, right, is someone of the line of Shem, right? They call themselves Ashkenazi Jews or Sephardic, right? So read Shem's family line. Go ahead.
The book of Genesis chapter 10 verse 1. Now these are the generations of the sons of Noah.
Right.
Shem, Ham,
and
Japheth.
And Japheth, right? You got the three
and unto them,
Hold up. All right, go ahead.
and unto them were sons born after the flood.
Right?
Verse 22, the children of Shem.
The children of Shem. Now we're going to find out if these Jews are actually Shemitic. Go ahead.
Elam,
Elam,
and Ashur,
Ashur,
and Arphaxad,
Arphaxad,
and Lud,
Lud,
and Aram.
and Aram.
And the children of Aram,
Okay, so stop. So now we will go into grandchildren now. Those are the immediate children of Shem, who they claim to be Semitic or anti-Semitic when you say so. Now skip to find Japheth. So notice we're going to read another son now. And we're going to see who his kids are. Let me know when you get it. So now, we did not read, we heard they're Ashkenazi Jews, right? Did you hear the word Ashkenaz? You heard that when we read that? Okay, you weren't paying attention, but
the sons of Japheth.
Sons of Japheth, go ahead.
The sons of Japheth.
The sons of Japheth now. This is not Shem. All Jews claim to be from Shem. Let's hear the sons of Japheth. Go ahead.
Gomer,
Gomer,
and Magog,
Magog. Notice, remember, God, Bible says Gog and Magog, so that already sounds wicked. Go ahead.
and Madai,
And Madai,
and Juan,
Juan,
and Tubal,
and Tubal Cain. You hear that with Masons. Go ahead.
and Meshech,
And Meshech,
and Tiras,
and Taras. Go ahead.
and the sons of Gomer,
Now watch, the sons of Gomer. You're going to find a specific name.
Ashkenaz.
What name?
Ashkenaz.
They call themselves what? Ashkenazi Jews?
Ashkenaz.
What's that name again?
Ashkenaz.
Who's their father?
Gomer?
Who's the grandfather?
Japheth.
Japheth. That is not Shem's bloodline. So there's no such thing as being anti-Semitic when you talk to them, because you're not even related to them by your so-called own book. You're a cousin. So if I say something against you and you say something against me, you're being anti-Semitic. Because we're the original Hebrews of the Bible.
That's right.
And the Israelites.
Right.
That's who we are. Not them. That's why in Revelation 2 and 9 it says, what, could you get that? Let's hear what Revelation 2 and 9 says. Because we just proved they didn't come from Shem, which is that line, all of that branch down from in Abraham, right? So now let's see what Christ says about those people who call themselves Jews. Okay?
Book of Revelations, chapter 2, verse 9.
Go ahead.
I know thy works.
I know thy works. I know what you did.
And tribulation.
And all the things you went through.
And poverty.
And the poverty, because we're poor, are we not? Go ahead.
But thou art rich.
But thou art rich with spirituality, with having the word. Go ahead.
And I know the blasphemy.
And I know the blasphemy.
Of them which say they are Jews.
Of them which say they are Jews. And what?
And are not.
And are not. You claiming Shem, but your name ain't there. The blasphemy of them which say they are Jews and are not. He's calling it out. Read 3 and 9.
The book of Revelations, chapter 3, verse 9.
As they say so nice, it had to be said twice. Go ahead.
Behold, I will make them of the synagogue of Satan.
I will make them of the synagogue of Satan. Go ahead.
Which say they are Jews.
Which say they are Jews.
And are not.
And are not.
But do lie.
And they lie. What's going to happen to them in the future? Go ahead.
Behold, I will make them to come
and do what?
And worship before thy feet.
I will make them come and worship before thy feet. Go ahead.
And to know that I have loved thee.
And to know that I have loved you. Go ahead. You are the Israelites. That's you people. You are the Israelites. You are the original people of the book. You are the one in Deuteronomy that went on the slave ship and came over to the U.S. You are the one that has shackles and chains on you. You are the ones whose children they took, who had to work for water, for clothing, for any little thing you wanted. You had to do that. That's your history. And churches will not read this. Why? Because they're under the guise of those people that are controlling the world now.
Right.
It's been in this book the whole time, but why won't they read it? You got to ask that question. Right? Go ahead.
The book of Isaiah, chapter 49, verse 23.
Go ahead.
And kings shall be thy nursing fathers.
So notice, this is the promise to God's children. Kings shall be your nursing fathers. Go ahead.
And their queens thy nursing mothers.
And the queens shall be the nursing mothers. The kings and queens of this world will take care of your children. Go ahead.
They shall bow down to thee.
Like they said in Revelation, they shall bow down to thee. Go ahead.
With their face toward
With
the
their
earth.
face toward the earth. There's no looking up. Look down. Go ahead.
And lick up the dust of thy feet.
And lick up the dust of thy feet. The same thing that happened to the slave will happen to the slave master. The same thing the oppressor did, he will be oppressed the same exact way. That's why the Lord is just. He won't let that go on forever. So you have to be patient and endure. That's why he said, when your obedience comes to fullness, then vengeance can be dealt out. Go ahead. Is there more?
And thou shalt know that I am the Most High.
Right? And you will know that's your Father. Go ahead.
For they shall not be ashamed that wait for me.
And so if you wait, notice he said wait, you won't be ashamed.
I got 14.
You won't wait in vain. It won't be for nothing. Go ahead.
I got 14.
Go ahead.
The book of Isaiah chapter 14 verse 1.
Right?
For the Most High will have mercy on Jacob.
Mercy on Jacob. Jacob is the predecessor to Israel. His name was changed when he wrestled the angel. Go ahead.
And will yet choose Israel.
And will yet choose Israel, Israelites. Go ahead.
And set them in their own land.
And set them in their own land. So remember, everybody has to go back. Earth to earth, sea to sea. You got to go back where you came from. I will set you in your own land. Go ahead.
And the strangers.
And the strangers, those who were belonging there, strangers, go ahead.
Shall be joined with them.
And you shall join with us. And how? Remember, we just read how they were going to join us. They got to serve the Most High also. They got to do the law, statutes, and commandments. But then now their head is us. We're their head. We're their guide to the Messiah, to the Mashiach Yahawashi. They come through us. Just like we have to go through the Messiah to the Father, they have to come through us to get to the Messiah, to get to the Father. Go ahead.
And they shall cleave to the house of Jacob.
And they shall cleave to it, right?
And the people shall take them and bring them to their place.
Right, bring them to their homes. Go ahead.
And the house of Israel shall possess them in the land of the Lord for servants.
Wait a minute. So all the strangers that invaded the land, all the kings and all the queens shall do what with them?
And the house of Israel
and
shall
the house
possess
of Israel, which is the Lord's house, go ahead.
Shall possess them.
Possess them, or possession.
In the land of the Lord.
Right.
For servants.
For servants.
And handmaids.
And handmaids.
And they shall take them captives.
Right.
Whose captives they were.
Did we not say the Lord will repay? Whose captives we were, they shall be our captives. They will be servants and handmaids. So, will you make it into the kingdom? Sure, you'll be on the earth, but you're going to be serving us. You'll be on the earth.
That's
but
right.
You're going to be serving us, though. They're going to be serving you. They're going to be serving this woman. All who follow the law, statutes, and commandments of this book, they will be servants to you. That's his word, and he has no emotion about that. It's fact. Go ahead.
And they shall rule over their oppressors.
And we will rule over those who oppressed us. Go ahead.
And it shall come to pass in a day that the Lord shall give thee rest from thy sorrow.
So now we have rest from our sorrow now. Now we're not upset. Now we're relaxing. Now we're at peace. Go ahead.
And from thy fear.
And from the fears that we had, that we talked about when we go into sleep. And those things we think about while they're troubling us in our sleep. Go ahead.
And from the hard bondage wherein thou wast made to serve.
And the bondage that we were made to serve. The white guy that was there before said what? He said, oh yeah, everybody went through slavery. That is correct. Pockets of white people went through slavery. Pockets of other groups went through slavery. Not an entire nation of people. There's a drastic difference between 10 people and generations. See, and they always want to qualify something. Oh, well, there was a white guy that did that too. So what? We're not talking about that. One guy versus millions. Children, fathers, mothers for generations. You cannot compare one incident to this one that's still going even to this day. And also, right, you know where it says Deuteronomy, where it talks about an estranged tongue? I think that's like in the 50s. Could you get that real quick? So let's deal with the Holocaust, right? We dealt with anti-Semitism, so let's deal with the Holocaust real quick, right? I want you to see what the Bible says, and we're going to compare it to the actual incident. Let me know when you got that. All right. So we're going to read Deuteronomy 28, and what verse is it? So now, right? So notice we said Hebrew or Yiddish is German, correct? Who pushed out the Jews from Germany? Who? Hitler. Was Hitler German? He was German. Did he speak German? He spoke German, right? And he pushed out who? The Jews, right? Which spoke Hebrew, which is German. Correct? Okay, great. Let me know when you find it.
The book of Deuteronomy, chapter 28, verse 49.
Now let's see what the Bible says. Go ahead.
The Lord shall bring a nation against thee from far.
So no, let's compare us to them. The Lord shall bring a nation against thee from far. The Jews were pushed out of where? In Germany. They were pushed out of Germany, correct? By Hitler. Is Germany far from Germany? No. Brooklyn ain't far from Brooklyn either. Go ahead.
From the end of the earth, as swift as the eagle flieth.
So two things. An enemy from afar, right? We were on the west coast of Africa after the Romans came. Is not America far from Africa? Go ahead. Wait, read that again. Did you read that with the language?
Yes.
Go ahead, read that again.
The Lord shall bring a nation against thee from far. From
West coast of Africa, northeastern Africa, which is Israel, America. Great distance. Go ahead.
From the end of the earth.
From the end of the earth, right? Other side of the world. Nothing, we didn't acknowledge anything over here. Go ahead.
As swift as the eagle flieth.
Second thing, as swift as the eagle flieth. What's the animal of this nation? All right, come. What's the nation of? What's the animal for this nation? The eagle. He shall bring a nation from afar, as swift as the what?
The eagle flieth.
Go ahead.
A nation whose tongue thou shalt not understand.
So the Jews were in Germany. They spoke Hebrew, which was Yiddish, which is also German. Adolf Hitler pushed them out, and he spoke German. He shall do what?
The Lord shall bring a nation against thee from far, from the end of the earth,
right?
As swift as the eagle flieth, a nation whose tongue thou shalt not.
Tongue is language. Whose tongue what?
Thou shalt not understand.
So the Jews were in Germany. They spoke Yiddish, which is German, so they understood Hitler. You get people from the west coast of Africa and bring them here. Do they understand English? So the Lord said he's going to bring you to a nation where they don't speak the same language. Strike one for the Holocaust. Go ahead. Two, actually. Go ahead.
I'm going to read 64.
Verse 64. And the Lord shall scatter thee among all people.
So the Lord shall scatter thee amongst all people, right? If I have a bunch of marbles and I scatter them, right, I do it by force. The marbles don't push themselves. So if you leave a country or you flee, you did that of your own volition. Whether someone pushed you or not. When someone told you to go, you left. The Lord said, I shall scatter you. I put this on you, so you had to leave. Go ahead.
From one end of the earth.
One end of the earth.
Even unto the other.
Even unto the other. Now, you know what's odd? Have you noticed wherever we are, there's Jewish people? They call us ghetto fabulous, but ghetto is a Jewish word. Isn't that ironic that where black people are, the Jewish language is also? And so are the people? Strange. It's a strange coincidence, is it not? Go ahead.
And there thou shalt serve other gods.
And thou shalt serve other gods. We serve everything. Anybody else good got a question in the meantime? Question? Question? Listening? Good. Okay, who's that? Oh, so you do understand what we're talking about? Okay, okay, cool, sis. All right, sons of Israelite. So where's he at? You know what? The Trinidad? Okay, all right, shout out to Trinidad. Shout out to Trinidad. Okay, keep going. Okay, keep going.
Which neither thou nor thy fathers have known.
So thou nor thy fathers, nobody in your lineage knew this language that you were going to be hearing. Go ahead.
Even wood and stone.
So now, I'm sorry, this is going back into the gods that we worship. Wood and stone, the cross, wood. The Kaaba in Mecca, a stone. You shall worship wood and stone. Go ahead.
And among these nations shalt thou find no ease.
And among those nations, there's no ease. In Arabia, in the Middle East, with the Muslim countries, we had no ease because there was the slave trade from the Muslims. We came all the way to the U.S. There was a slave trade here. Wherever we go, we had problems. That's what he's saying. Go ahead.
Neither shall the sole of thy foot have rest.
Not even to this day we work. And there's no end to it, right? Everybody works, you retire, and then guess what? Now you got to get a part-time job to supplement the money they're giving. There is no ease. Go ahead.
But the Lord shall give thee there a trembling heart.
What? You're going to have a trembling heart. Go ahead.
And failing of eyes. And sorrow of mind.
And sorrow of mind. He's going to make us sorry. Go ahead.
And thy life shall hang in doubt before thee.
Does our life not hang in doubt? Every time we walk out, especially with black men, especially with black men, do we not walk around concerned if the police are going to kill us? Concerned if that brother that looked at me earlier might shoot me? That's not a way to live. Go ahead.
And thou shalt fear day and night.
And thou shalt fear day. It don't matter what time it is. Go ahead.
And shall have none assurance of thy life.
We have no assurance. Every day it's possible. Every day we walk around, we know it's possible. This is why this word is here, to pull you out of that possibility, to bring you under the wings of the Lord, to keep the law, statutes, and commandments. So now he has his watchful eye. He has his eye on you now. This is why when someone, oh, let's go to this party and da-da-da-da-da, you don't go and show up, they got in an accident. Or one of them got killed, but you were home. because he has a plan for you later, and you have to come to that realization. Go ahead.
The book of Deuteronomy chapter 10 verse 12.
Go ahead.
And now Israel, what doth the Lord thy God require of thee?
So out of everything we said, what does the Most High require? What does the Messiah require of you? Go ahead.
But to fear the Lord thy God.
To fear. You hear people in church, oh, I'm God-fearing. You are not afraid of the Lord. You're not doing his commandments. You're not keeping his day. You're not following. You are not afraid of him. Go ahead.
To walk in all his ways.
To walk in all his ways, right? They tell you to follow the life of Christ, the anointed. How many people, at minimum, do the baptism? How many people do the Passover? Christ didn't say he kept Easter. He said he sat at the Passover. Why are you keeping Easter with a rabbit that lays eggs? That's a pagan god. Go ahead.
That's right. And to love him.
And to love him. And love is not an easy word to define here. Go ahead.
And to serve the Lord thy God.
And to serve him.
With all thy heart.
With all thy heart. All the ability you have, push towards serving him. Go ahead.
And with all thy soul.
And with all thy soul. Your whole entire being, your body. Go ahead.
To keep the commandments of the Most High.
Of the Most High. The minimum you should do is 10. If you do the 10, you're going to knock out the rest of them. Go ahead.
And his statutes, which I command thee this day for thy good.
Right, so that's statutes. So these are just breakdowns of laws, commandments, statutes, oracle. All these things are subdivisions of laws. Go ahead. Now people say, oh, I can't do that. But look at this country you're in, right? Do we not keep all these laws? Do we know half of them? We know not to go past the light. We know not to kill another person. All of that came from here. And he says, obey the laws of the land that you're in. So go ahead.
Book of Deuteronomy chapter 6 verse 25.
I'm going to finish up on this one.
And it shall be our righteousness.
Our righteousness, right?
If we observe to do all these commandments.
If we observe to do all of them. That's our righteousness. Go ahead.
Before the Lord our God, as he hath commanded us.
As he before, in front of him, to observe and do all of them. That's your righteousness. You follow his laws, statutes, and commandments, and have the faith in the Mashiach or Christ. That's your righteousness. Read Revelation 14 and 12 real quick.
14 and 12.
I'm going to show you who saints are. We define you. What was holy again? To be set apart, to be separate. That's holy. So now we're going to define what a saint is. You had a question.
They also said you have to remember how we used to do things in the old way.
Half of the old ways, right?
Right.
Run it back and forth. Cut. You know what I don't fit?
That's Job 8. That's Job 8:8.
What's up? Job 8:8. Yeah. Read it. What question you have? Now to follow the old ways.
How do we know we're actually?
You gotta understand old ways.
You have Deuteronomy 32:7.
You gotta read the book. You gotta follow the law, statutes, commandments. The first step is opening up the book to see what it actually says, because most of what we hear is what someone told us. Because how could you debate someone about the Bible that you never read? How can you tell, oh, this book is not true and you didn't go through 10 pages? Right? That's pointless. So you gotta at least at the beginning open the book. And the Lord says, I love a contrite heart. And so humility counts. And honestly, speak out. Go ahead. Right.
You know, in church and everything, but we didn't go into it like that.
Exactly. But mind you, it's the same book, the same pages. How did they skip on it? But real quick, I tell you, in 1808, there was a slave by sisters. Be peaceful. So thank you for stopping.
Shalom.
So, right? But notice, there's a slave Bible. It was, I think it was a Dutch West India Company. 1808, they took out parts of the book for the slaves to remain slaves. They went from Genesis 1, skipped to Genesis 37. They took out parts of Deuteronomy. They took out Leviticus. They took out laws. They took out the feast days. They took out all forms of redemption for the slaves. They only left those that pertain to obey. And Obadiah, which specifically speaks to the people that did this, that chapter was removed also. And they took out Revelation, which even mentions about you taking away and adding to the book. So they knew what they were doing. And then this is why you get people, oh, that Bible's fake, because it was based off that. And it's being still taught from that to this day. To skip, that's how you didn't read this, because all those books that were there, that was the way to read. So now when you go to church, that's how they teach you to read it, minus those books. Go ahead.
The book of Deuteronomy chapter 32 verse 7.
All right,
remember the days of old, consider the years of many generations.
Those who came before you and walked that walk. Go ahead.
Ask thy father, and he will show thee thy elders,
right?
and they will tell thee.
And they will tell thee. So it may not be specifically your dad. It may be a brother who's really walking that walk. Or you speak and pray to the Most High, who is the Father. Ask him and he will show you. He'll show you how to walk. That's how you find out. Don't worry about, oh, how do we know? Ask him. You don't have to ask him in front of us. You don't have to go to some church and do it in front of people. Go to your closet and speak to your Father in private, and he will reward you openly. People will notice the difference that you actually sought him to learn.
Last precept.
To get into this this truth,
Right.
because I from school I learned history that they taught us.
Right.
Christopher Columbus, all that stuff.
Right.
Okay. That was like their half truth, because they didn't tell us like all of the atrocities we were.
Just like the New Testament, the first chapter.
But learning this now, I'm getting the side that they left out.
And you notice they purposely skip this.
Yeah.
This is pushed away. Even in church, as sweet as it sounds, you know what? Let me read this one verse and tell you a story for 2 hours.
Yeah.
Right. They don't open the book at all. Just walk around with it talking. Because what happens, they know our people are visual. So if I see you walking with the Bible in your hand, you start talking, he's talking about the Bible. You know what I mean? If I got a comic book in my hand, am I talking about superheroes all day? No. Go ahead. Last piece. Good.
Book of Ecclesiasticus, chapter 12, verse 13.
Go ahead.
Let us hear the conclusion of the whole matter.
Finish it up. The conclusion of the whole matter.
Fear God.
Fear the Most High.
And keep his commandments.
And keep his commandments.
For this is the whole duty of man.
That's your purpose. You know how people say the purpose of life? That's your purpose. You do that, and everything you were looking for will come to you.
Khan.
Once you take that step, you have to take that step.
That's
you
right.
have to gain humility. You have to gain contriteness. Because a lot of times you will bring something totally disastrous to your life to get you to that point if you're too hard-headed to do it on your own.